heart sing. That's part of the joy of soul. And we want to talk about how so many souls are in struggle mode with this idea of I have to work and work hard for those visions of love from my own soul versus the vision of joy of life and the vision of I will embody the soul that I am meant to. I'm not here to do the work of everybody else. I want to talk to you about honoring all souls. What does that mean? What does it mean when we say we honor each other? Are we just saying, I agree with everything that you say and do? That's what some will do. Others will say, no, there is something for us to hold on to in our hearts. I love when I get to rise into the vision of soul of soul. And those are those visions and those leaders of love, right? Many of us don't realize that there are souls who can and do go in and create visions of love with other souls. We are all doing it. The difference is that many will say, my vision worked for me, and therefore I assume it will work for everyone else. And that's the reason why so many souls are having difficulties on this plane of development. It's not about doing what others do. It's like doing what makes sense for you. How do you know what makes sense for you? Do you enjoy it? If you enjoy the hours of meditation that it may take for you to come into that vision of love for your own soul, by all means, do that work. If it means you go out and you challenge the systemic racism that you may or may not experience and or participate in whatever ways possible, that's part of it. You see, it's not just about saying, I love who I am, right? Or is it? That's the nature of soul. So what others are trying to do is essentially lift themselves to these vibrations of love of soul. But soul is all, and soul is whatever we see. It doesn't mean that we have to rise into anything other than who we are in the moment. I myself have my moments of joy. I have despair. I have trauma, right? We don't reinforce those visions for most, but it can be a healing experience for some when you go through the process of soul embodiment. So you see, there's a difference between what a lot of souls are doing. They're assuming they're in those highest vibrations because they're allowing themselves to feel the ecstatic states of awareness. That was me. And then I realized I got my hat handed to me by many. So this is those fields of vision of who am I creating with and why. Okay. Now, this can start to lead people to that idea of, well, I guess I'm not finding the joy in the work that I'm doing. That's the nature of it. If it's joyful and it's like ecstatic states, you won't want to let those go no matter what. But how many people actually know what the vibrational shifts of a shaman might be, right? Soul retrieval is one aspect of the shamanic tradition. And with that vision, we would say, let's honor it. I had my issues with it for, in essence, I heard a lot of negativity from various shamans about the dark and the light and all of that in between. There is no such thing as dark and light in essence. We are vibrational beings of love. We don't buy into the vision of someone is bad or good. And at some point, you start to understand why that actually lifts you up. Who am I to judge another soul as bad or good based on what? My own position in society? Can you imagine how many people brought through those visions for those souls who were enlightened in the minds, but didn't act quite right for what others thought they should be? Many in those mental health facilities, right, were of the lightest in their minds. Others of the shamanic tradition will honor that and say those who are using various drugs to enlighten themselves, they will get one experience of the enlightenment only. Many will assume that it is for them to rise into those visions of altered states of awareness. When you rise into an altered state of awareness, that doesn't mean you're going to get the best experience of soul. Some will say, I was traumatized by the experience. Others will say, I was enlightened by it. We create whatever we want when we go into those states. Have I done enough of my own inner work to lift me to those highest vibrations of angels? You see, others would say angels and demons. They ride the same ride, right? Don't they go together hand in hand? That's what some assume. Just like some will say, we create with the vision of love for all. Love for all means I have to deal with those visions of those who try to claim that others are less than. And when I do that work with their souls, it can be traumatic, right? It can be hard for a soul to do. But I use my tools of unwinding those mindsets in order to lift them to a higher plane of understanding. The non-duality of light, right? It's not even considered light. It's called enlightenment, right? Others will say, I just vibrate in the beauty of love of all. I don't need to tell people how to be. But what I do is I bring through the highest vision of love for all souls that ever sit before me. Now, what does that mean? I could do a general reading, or I could sit with an individual, connect with their highest vision of who they think they are, right? Do you want to know who I think I am? I go on many levels of understanding and planes of enlightenment, and I am beautiful in all souls' visions because I don't dare tell another soul what I think they need to do or should do. Guidance for the soul is just that. We guide others in our visions, whether it is a formal vision of guidance, as in I'm going to help you, or whether I am hurting you and you are now learning a lesson about who I am. That's the nature of love, right? Others will condemn those that must do various things in order to free themselves from those ideas that are not serving them. And then others will label that as bad or detrimental to them. Ask yourself those questions. Who am I here to serve? Do I serve myself only? Do I serve my children? Do I serve the nature of everybody? We can't serve everybody at once, can we? That would be that's when you get those very high level understandings of love that don't really have any specific guidance tools for them other than the vision of guiding ourselves to go either in or out. No one is determined to be less than if they don't go in and meditate for 2 hours a day or even a week. We know that. It's not intended. But many in the spiritual alignment would say that's what brought them the peace of mind to get them to those higher levels of wisdom. And that's a beautiful expression. But what we have to understand is in today's nature of love, most are having difficulty finding those high spots, right? It's like a hit and miss. Some people will do the vision of I love who I am when I sit and I go in. Others will feel the uncomfortable silence. Others will just spin. And there are many who will sit and not ever, ever think about praying for another soul. We're going to talk to people about the differences in love of soul. You see, others will say, I must go in and I must go out. That's who I am. I have to come into my heart, and then I must also express the wisdom of what needs to be brought out, right? What needs to be brought out is the love of all souls. So just because I might post a post that is very enlightening for some people, I will also, in my vision of love of who I am, will point out the visions that are actually not the best for the majority of people, right? It depends on who's going to see that. So this is not about saying we align with everybody. But if we are in the vision that we are here to dictate to others versus love each other, right? So the love of each other is vital for all of us. But that is not what most people want. They just want to be, it's like by themselves. There's a lot of souls who are saying, I need to be by myself. Alas, the challenges that you face the most are going to be in your relationships. And if you can honor other souls for not doing your own work that you claim is of the highest, then you've hit the right spot. That's the high spot. Knowing that others are not going to do your work, they are not going to want to do what you do, and they're not going to take your guidance very, lightly. Okay? Now, this is going to be seen as a reactionary video or whatever. This is literally soul work for all, where you start to say, there is not very much I can say or do other than inspire others to do their soul work. We live it. Soul work is living. If we that's the nature of it. Shadow work is a whole different perspective on what the work is. Byron Katie has her own work, which just basically says we unwind the crap out of everything and then it's all beautiful. And that's where a lot of us go. See, others will say, I want to hit those high notes. Taking off the conditioning of other souls is part of it. I don't need to be like Jesus in order to be loved. I don't need to be like the devil to be hated, right? How many people know that vision? I am is the basic, right? That's one of the most basic teachers and teachings. I am. This is who I am. That's the beauty of soul. We don't have to be like anybody else. We don't have to do the vision of anyone else's work in order to reach those high levels of enchantment, because that's where we tend to go when we do the work of love for all. We enchant each other with our energy. We assume the beauty of all souls. What we can do when we hit those high notes is say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for showing me more of who I thought I was. I thought I was the most loving, caring soul until I had children. How many people know that? I got angry. How many people know that? I lose my temper sometimes. I get frustrated. I was the most peaceful, loving, adoring soul ever. And then I had children. And then my heart got challenged, right? We lifted ourselves up during the process of some of the most painful moments ever. Again, I'm going to reiterate the moments of depression that I went through. I was at the worst of the worst, and I reunited with my heart and my soul. There is no process that's going to be for everybody. So whatever is in your heart to do, we would say lift yourselves up to the nature of love of all. It's not meant for everybody. Even now, we need those anger moments to be released. We need those hateful moments to be released. People aren't going to agree with that. This is a repressive society when we go to a lot of that ideas of enlightenment. Or is it that I've done so much work, I don't need to feel the anger anymore? So for Brenda, as she is, she doesn't feel a lot of anger for others. She has the wisdom within. It's embodied in her. She guided herself to so many different levels of understanding. She knows how to meet people where they're at. That's one speck of her light. The other vision is I go in and I bring through the best of the best for those who want to hear the beauty of souls that we love and hate and honor as soul. They are part of the collective vision. So when I hear those shots fired, as I've done in the past week, and we see more of those school shootings, I want to guide people to that other vision that I brought through recently from the soul of a soul who brought through that beautiful vision, and people may disagree with that description, from one of the shooters of Columbine. This is where we need to think very carefully. A lot of us in the vision of I've got it all figured out still know we have work to do on this plane of development. And that's where those ideas of I've got it all figured out, no, you don't. I can guarantee you, unless you're doing work with souls on a soul level, you do not know what's best for another soul. Guaranteed. You may have the best wisdom for you, and you may actually guide someone to a better place. Have you ever heard anyone say that their wisdom is bad? It's not bad. It just may be from a certain level of understanding. I could go to the highs of the highs, right? That's that beautiful vision of let's sit and pray for each other. Let's honor the visions of our souls create no matter what. So there's no bad guidance in essence. It just may not be the right place or time for someone to come through. Okay? When we talk about the level of love for our souls, we have to honor the fact that John and Julia, I have two souls on the line who I know who would say her vision of childcare was, it's like indescribable during the process of embodiment. Trapped in a human body is where others would assume she went. She could literally fly into the stratosphere with her soul. And she's still here in this body. That's what some people will feel like. This is why her soul keeps her grounded. Okay, so you hear a lot about the grounding process that people go through. It's not needed for many anymore. But others will say that's what can happen if you go too deep into the work. You can lose yourself in someone else's vision. And then you start to feel like you're not yourself. Once you start hitting those high notes and you feel it, you don't want to go away. But it's about staying here, staying true to your own soul. How do you know what that is? Well, let's see. How many of us are doing what we think others want us to do? Versus, I enjoy this soul so much. Or I enjoy this person so much. Enjoyment of a guidance system isn't always going to get you to the place that you need to be. See, some of us do need to be challenging our ideas about what's right for us, right? But sometimes it literally is, I shouldn't have to work to do my own soul. I don't need to do work. That's where this one is now. I did my work. My whole life I did my work. I went in and I thought and thought and thought, and my heart went out to everybody, and I paid my respects on a soul level. And then I had children. And then the process spiraled me up. And then I had to do more work and more work. So those relationships that we often have as struggle in our minds are often the ones that are the easiest. Sometimes those relationships that we come into contact with people that we don't necessarily know are going to be a big struggle for a lot of people. That's how you know. Are you telling people what to do? Or are you saying this is what worked for me? That's the nature of it. On one level. There are those guides that will say, I can go in and give people a soul session. And what people will know is when they hear their family and friends and loved ones and acquaintances come through, they're going to say, oh, you mean that's what that is? It's not about just the mediumship. It's about knowing the souls around you and what they're creating with you and what you're creating with them. It could be just about your mindset and where you think you are versus where you actually are. You're never far from home when you're in your soul. That's where we go. Brenda gets told, you're in home. You're in home energy. This is home. When you go to your soul, it feels like home. This is that idea that many have of, I want to go home. And they think it means reaching out to some other place or time. You go in and you bring back all those visions of love, right? It's more than that. It's like you understand, oh, this feels right for me. This feels right for me. I don't want to leave this. I don't want to leave this vibration. I don't want to leave this realm. I don't want to leave this plane of development. This feels right for me to be here. This is why I stay. I'm like, this feels good. This world feels good. I know this world. I understand this world. I can deal with this world. I know how to help people in this world. I may not have all the answers, right? This is when my soul will come. It's like, come back, honey. Don't get too arrogant. They will let me know in my mind. It's a test. Some of us will say this phrase, I am who I am. Others will say, I am. Others will say, who the fuck am I? Right? That's another aspect of who I am. So you see, I have to bring forth those visions of those souls who say, I'm a down and dirty kind of gal. Those are those souls that are here and they get labeled as less than. We've had those discussions before. You want to know who's aligned with soul and get demonized for it because they're not acting in the most pious of manners? Literally, I could do the work of an angel and I could also bring you your soul, right? I could do so many things on the soul level based on those visions of where I have gone in my life. Soul retrieval is a process of embodiment in essence. It doesn't mean you're always going to use that vision as a guide. Okay? It could literally be some part of me that I rejected as a child. We're going to keep talking about soul embodiment because that's where actually a lot of people are going to want to go. It's not about trying to aim for those heavenly realms, right? Heaven is what we make of it here. We create it from this realm. And then we vibrate into the beauty of it. And that's why so many souls are going to start experiencing those very soul-worthy vibrations. And when you do that work, it becomes, well, some will say it's an addiction. It's home. You know who your soulmates are. You know who you create best with. You know who challenges you. That's what some of us are here to do, or to challenge ourselves in the mindsets of spiritual alignment even. It can be the easiest place to go. I sit myself down in church and I pray. That's a beautiful expression. I lift myself up, and then when I walk out the doors, do I feel good? Okay? And that might be that idea of like, I struggle with those around me. That's our growth point, right? Sometimes you need to leave others alone. Sometimes we pit ourselves against others when we don't need to. I have no challenges for anyone in my family. They're all beautiful, right? I do. You know who I have a problem with? Those who are dictating to others how to be. Now, we have those visions of laws, right? But even then, on the soul level, we can unwind a lot of that vision. Because in essence, it's kind of arrogant to sit there and say, those who are wanting vaccines are bad, right? How dare you tell someone where they are in their mind and that they would be safe without a mask or a vaccine. We know in the spiritual enlightenment what those vaccines may or may not do. Most people don't even know why they're saying they're not in the field of vision of vaccination when they have been their whole lives. It's a beautiful vision. If you can imbibe upon that vision and not worry about yourself or anyone else around you, bravo, you've done your work. But I can guarantee you there are plenty of souls who went down that path who are part of the grand exit plan. Same with those of science. I can align with those visions. It's a soul vision. This is why those souls who are in the idea that it is just about my mindset are sometimes getting their hats handed to them. And it's not a bad thing, by the way, when they do cross to the other side. We have to deal with it here as friends and family and loved ones. Okay, that's the issue. She fights for us here. We don't want to lose our loved ones, right? It's not up to us, but we have to deal with that idea. And that's why she brings through many of those souls who have either crossed based on the idea of I made the right choice at the right time. It's never the wrong choice. But in essence, it is the energy of I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer to help my family open up the nature of who I was. I was arrogant in my mind. This is where I go. I get told when I'm being arrogant by others. But if you saw the work that I've done and you know the vision of what I create, as those souls, there are other souls, plenty of souls who do that work very well. Many will manifest for themselves, but they have no idea how to manifest for others. That's the nature of love. So that's the nature of your soul. Your soul knows what to do. So with that in mind, we want to bring through Carol Channing, a comedic genius who says this woman is so funny in her mind when she laughs at life. Laugh at life, people. This is what we're being told to do for the most part in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Let's take this position of authority, put it aside, right? Because there's a lot going on right now, and we just are going to enjoy the world for a few weeks. We don't need to ride it's like the train of love. There's a soul there that's just laughing because it's for her soul's vision and someone else she knows. But in essence, let's just enjoy the ride. Okay? And that means that for others, it's going to be their own vision of love handed to them. I enjoyed my love for the laughter. I get honored every time I see another comedian who puts his heart on the line to dictate others. So this is not about saying those who are dictating to others are bad. There's no bad, okay? So if you feel like, oh, I have all the information, I know this, I know that, it's not trying to stifle expression, okay? But it's be honest. Let's be honest. Some of us have more wisdom in certain fields. I don't claim to be a technology genius, but I know someone who is. I'm going to honor you for your strengths, your wisdom, your guidance, and everything. But I'm not going to sit there and deny the vision that there are plenty of souls who know how to give guidance for others. What I'm saying is that I'm seeing plenty of anger and hatred from those who have not even claimed it, and yet they feel that they need to do that. Let's stop the anger and hatred at people when we don't even know what's right for ourselves, much less someone else. Do you get guided step by step by your soul? If that's a yes, good for you. If that's a no, you might want to think twice about what kind of field of vision you create with others. It's not about wanting to do more. There is a process that others can do. Eventually, those who do embody their soul will indeed guide others, and there is a reason for it. Okay, because it's a process that can be difficult, painful sometimes, hopefully hilarious if you've got a good sense of humor. Approach it with a sense of humor when at all possible, because that's the beauty of it. Most of our souls are meant to be here with joy in our hearts, not with anger and deceit and whatnot. I'm not going to lie to you. I get mad. I get angry. I have my moments, and I bring through those souls that I do not agree with or I would not align with. But that's the strength of who I am. I can disconnect far enough for those souls to let those visions of their highest self, right? It's part of it. It's only one aspect of who they were and where they were in the moment. So others are going to honor Carol Channing. Others will not know who she is. But she was recently brought up in my attention, and I love her because I actually remember her from my childhood. Okay? So let's align with the comedic geniuses and bring forth their vision of love. She's a handful in her mind. I was a handful for those around me because I thought everything was funny. I had some serious depression in my mind. Okay, that's a natural for many. A lot of those comedic geniuses are very much suffering in their hearts. We have our traumas as well, our discord, right? So this is just a broad natured guidance vision. I'm not going to go into the nature of her own soul. It's a bit of wisdom for all of us. So with that in mind, I want to say thank you for joining us. Enjoy your expressions of love or hate, depending on where, who gets to determine what's hateful anyways? It could be the best thing ever and someone else says, oh, it's hateful because it doesn't align with my beliefs. That's not hate. That's just, I'm not aligned with you. What you don't like, that's up to you. But you don't get to determine whether someone else is saying something that's hateful, okay? Unless it is hateful. And when we go to that idea of what's going on a societal impact vision, that's when we can start to unwind some of those other visions. But for now, let's keep it light and airy. And let's just say thank you for joining us. And I hope you have the best of visions for your own souls, people. We have to remember, in this age of wisdom, we keep trying to show people our strengths. But many are just showing us their weaknesses. And when we do that, that's the honoring of it. I can show you my vulnerable moments. I can do that for you if you want. The vulnerability of a soul that said, I'm not the best of the best, right? Until I am. It's one of those visions of who gets to decide what's the best. So it's not about saying we're all the best because we're all soul. That's the nature of it. Don't deny the beauty of who you are, and I won't deny the beauty of who I am. That's what I'll do. I'll give you your beauty wherever you are, depending on what level of understanding. If you try to come at me in the mind, I might have something to say, and you might not like it. That's the nature of what it is. It's not about revenge or spite. It's about an honoring of each other's wisdom. If you want to know more about me, please feel free to contact me for a soul session. And if you do so, you will start to see the beauty of the ages as well. More and more of those visions of Christ are going to be coming through for those of you who feel the vibration of, I need that one coming through. It's going to be very intense for those souls, and that soul is still here creating havoc for Brenda because she does not align with that vision as much as what others would hope. Okay, and it's just the nature of who she is. She challenges all those visions in her mind. Now, enjoy the week. And the weekend is going to be beautiful for the majority of us. Excelsior. There's another vision on the line. We want all souls to take it easy on the children of the world who are so struggled in their minds about, I've got to produce excellence in my children. These visions of excellence are often the most struggled in our minds with the pressures of the world that we're placing on them right now. We want them to find the joy in the world as we see it. Let's remember to enjoy our lives in as much as we can, and we do honor the vision of trying to protect those who are here from those visions of death or of COVID. The long-term effects are there for many. We don't talk about it on the news or in the public arena as much as what we probably should. It's not to be fearful or fear-mongering. It's the reality of our souls creating havoc. So, thank you for watching. And again, if you want to set up a soul session with me, feel free to go to my website at brendagervais.com and you can find out more information there. Have a beautiful, beautiful week.